Oh, yes. It was a big, ugly damage hearing that was on there. It's been adjourned. I had too much stuff in there. Hopefully it's settled. Yes, that's not on the docket anymore. Good morning, sir. Restart the record. This is file number 241081 SM. People versus Travis John Andrews. Is that you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Andrews, you're here with your lawyer, Mr. John Bush. Also present is your probation officer, Matthew Huff. This is set for a probation violation hearing. Have we resolved the case?
He is going to be making an admission to one of the counts today.
All right, very good. The prosecutor isn't here if we had to actually conduct a hearing, but it appears he's going to accept responsibility. This is an interesting and difficult case. Mr. Huff and I have discussed this several times during the term of this probation, including yesterday. Let's go back to square one here. Probation violation petition alleges that he violated his probation. He was placed on probation on September 30th of 2024 on a charge of domestic violence. He, as I recall, headbutted his girlfriend out at Long Lake and threw her phone in the lake. He was placed on a domestic violence deferral probation, and it didn't go very well. The allegation is he violated a criminal law. He got charged with a felony drug possession charge in Cass County, and he failed to report. What primarily started it was he failed to report. He was placed on probation, and then we didn't see him. Failed to report October, November, December, and January, and no reports since. Then they learned that he'd been charged with a charge in Cass County and is facing, I'm not sure what the status of that is. They were considering placement at their mental health court. I also ordered that he do the domestic violence treatment program. That's not in the petition. Did he ever do any of the treatment?
No.
All right. At some point he returned, he'd been AWOL, and then at some point Matt reestablished some contact with him. I did the arraignment on June 11th with Mr. Stickley. We learned that the defendant had been at the VA. We actually did the arraignment from the recovery center at the VA in Battle Creek by Zoom with the defendant. And we set a hearing which resulted in this hearing. The defendant at that time also had charges pending in Cass County. Matt just gave me this report, which is in microscopic print, indicating that the defendant had been in some treatment at the VA. So we go forward too far, I would note that Angelique Camfield from the prosecutor's office has joined us. Mr. Huff, what's our current status?
Well, I had no contact with Mr. Andrews from the point of the probation violation arraignment, which, as you noted, was on June 11th at the Veterans Treatment facility until yesterday. So I've had no contact. He indicates a couple of things are going on new, that he was released from treatment approximately 2 weeks ago, end of July, and that he's set to go back to another treatment, post-traumatic stress disorder program, September 17th. Apart from that, I don't have a lot of information, and perhaps Mr. Andrews or his attorney could shed some more light for you.
All right. Mr. Bush, can you tell us what the status of his Cass County charges are?
It's my understanding that they're set for trial on October 24th of 2025. He said Greg Feldman from Edwardsburg is his legal counsel.
So you had a preliminary examination and the matter got bound over?
I believe so. Yes,
All
sir.
right. Boy, they get things to trial fast in Cass County, if that actually goes. All right, Mr. Bush, what's our plan for this morning?
Obviously, he's in no position to make any admission regarding the new charges, but for purposes of probation violation, he would admit that he failed to report and contact Mr. Huff.
Sorry about that. I brought my phone in here to scan a driver's license. It's going off. All right, Mr. Andrews, as I told you before, you have a right to have a hearing regarding this violation of probation allegation. And Mr. Bush, your original lawyer, was reappointed. He also, at that hearing, would have the matter established at least beyond a preponderance of evidence. Frankly, this isn't going to be very hard to prove that you didn't show up for months and you didn't do the treatment that was ordered. So you also can simply admit that. Is that what you wish to do here this morning?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Tell me what happened. I put you on this probation. I had good thoughts of a domestic violence treatment program. We never even got the balloon 1 inch off the ground. What happened?
From there, the person that was involved with this and I split up and I kind of spiraled out of a, mental health crisis. Isolated for months in home.
Out at Long Lake?
Yes, sir.
You still have the house on Walnut Drive?
Yes, sir. I just kind of shut down. So I was just a serious mental health crisis at the time.
That sounds like it. Now, the charge in Cass County is methamphetamine,
Cocaine, sir.
cocaine, neither of which you need, but
No, not at all. There are a lot of poor decisions and there are a lot of people that are important to be disappointed.
well,
Tell him how you got to the company.
so then at some point you got back on the horse. When I saw you in June, you were at a VA treatment facility and I talked about your service in Iraq and other places and PTSD issues and other things that you're dealing with. So when did you go into treatment at the VA?
I went into the inpatient mental health ward first, just kind of get stabilized, and that was 12th of May. I spent a week there. I went home for a week, and then I came.
No,
back.
that was after your Cass County arrest?
Yes, sir. I kind of hit rock bottom with that.
Sometimes that's what has to happen. You have to hit rock bottom to start to climb back up. And so then, Matt said, I haven't heard from these people. We got, the PV when you were at the VA, then you got out of the VA, you didn't contact him, and then heard from you yesterday.
Then in June 2nd to 30th, I did a 28-day inpatient recovery program.
So there's two things going on. There's your mental health issues with PTSD and others, and there's addiction issues. What is the recovery from? Cocaine, alcohol?
Cocaine.
Okay. Cocaine had fallen off the map when I was a very young prosecutor. It was heroin in the 80s, early black tar heroin. Then it was cocaine. Then it was crack cocaine, which we thought was terrible. as bad as it got until methamphetamine showed up. Then cocaine seemed like a distant memory. We also had lots of marijuana cases, but we thought crack cocaine was bad stuff, which it is. Then we get Oxycontin and prescription opioids that they were passing out like M&Ms. And we dealt with thousands of people with opioid problems. And then we get fentanyl, which kills people. So it's been a tragic progression of substance addiction and harmful.
All right, let's talk about that. Judge Middleton had quite a task in front of him with Travis John Andrews' probation violation hearing, and the whole session played out like a careful balance between disappointment and cautious optimism. From the start, the judge laid out the background. Andrews had been placed on probation back in September of 2024 after a domestic violence deferral, but things quickly derailed. He failed to report for several months, skipped his ordered treatment program entirely, and picked up a new felony possession charge in Cass County. Not exactly a strong record. Yet the hearing wasn't just a laundry list of failures, it also dug into where Andrews has been, where he is now, and whether he might finally be on a steadier track. Andrews appeared with his attorney, John Bush, and probation officer Matthew Huff, who explained that communication with Andrews had been essentially non-existent for months until very recently. It turns out Andrews spent time at the VA, including an inpatient recovery program and mental health stabilization for PTSD related to his service in Iraq. The judge pressed him directly. What happened? Andrews admitted that after splitting up with his partner, he spiraled into isolation, shut down emotionally, and made poor choices. To his credit, he owned up to letting down people who had supported him. Judge Middleton didn't let him off the hook, reminding him that probation had barely started before things fell apart. But the judge also acknowledged the reality that sometimes people need to hit rock bottom before they can start climbing back up. The exchange had a kind of frank but humane tone. Middleton was clearly frustrated at the lack of follow-through after all. No reports, no treatment, and new charges is about as bad as it gets in a probation case. But he also listened as Andrews described his time in treatment, his upcoming PTSD program in September, and his acknowledgement of addiction issues. The judge even went on a thoughtful tangent about the progression of addictive substances he's seen throughout his career, from heroin in the 80s to cocaine, crack, opioids, and now fentanyl, noting how devastating the cycle of addiction has been over decades. That was classic Judge Middleton, part history lesson, part reflection, part courtroom reality check. Attorney John Bush did his best to steer the conversation toward manageable ground, clarifying the Cass County charges and noting Andrews is set for trial later this year. For today, the focus was simply on admitting the probation violation specifically. Failing to report, which Andrews did openly, probation officer Huff didn't sugarcoat it either, noting he'd had zero contact with Andrews for months and only reconnected the day before the hearing. Still, there was a glimmer of forward movement. Treatment completed, more treatment planned, and some acknowledgement from Andrews that he had to take responsibility and try to rebuild. Overall, the hearing had a mix of stern accountability and guarded hope. The atmosphere was calm but tinged with the weight of disappointment. Judge Middleton kept it professional, Bush was steady, Huff was straightforward, and Andrews, though clearly worn down, seemed sincere in at least trying to articulate where he went wrong. Whether that translates into real progress remains to be seen, but it was one of those hearings where the judge wasn't just checking boxes. He was trying to push someone to see the bigger picture. If you found this hearing insightful, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and letting me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one.